to multi-billion-dollar company is getting heated. Elon Musk is accusing OpenAI's co-founders of double-crossing him and stealing the charity they founded together by turning OpenAI into a for-profit company after he left. But OpenAI says Musk did know about the company's future plans and only sued after failing to become CEO. Now Musk is clashing with the company's lawyers on the witness stand, accusing them of asking misleading questions. ABC News contributor, Google tech policy fellow Mike Muse is here for more. Mike, you say this is framed as a legal story, but really it's a tech business story. Why?
It is, because you look at the origins of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has been around since the 1980s up into the early 2000s, and it's been seen more on the back end from businesses and also from researchers. So you will see it in institutions like MIT, really trying to discover what is deep learning, what is machine learning. You saw it again in the back end of companies like Google using it for machine learning dynamics. It wasn't until you got to the 2010s where you began to see a shift, and you began to see a shift in these companies beginning to what's called doing deep learning and deep knowledge that allows it to become in the consumer-friendly product that we know today as generative AI. But Diane, when you begin to make that shift from academia to back-end use to front-end consumer use, you need more compute. And when you need more compute, that takes more investment, that takes more capital, i.e. more money. And also, too, as this began to grow the sector business-wise, companies began to poach other talented engineers in order to grow and scale their companies. And so then you see OpenAI come in as a nonprofit research arm, kind of coming on academia. But once they saw the shift and pivot, they knew they needed more money to invest in microprocessor chips and data centers. They needed more investments. In order to make the investment worthwhile for donors, they needed to convert over to a for-profit. And so that is how we got here. And that is the evolution of artificial intelligence. I think that's an important part of this story as our viewers are watching this trial.
As a tech guy, what do you think when you listen to Musk's testimony? Anything surprise you so far about how this trial is playing out?
Yeah, some of the things that surprised me how it's playing out is how Musk even recognized that the need for OpenAI to possibly go for profit. He was aware of it. As you mentioned in your opening statement, that the tension began when Musk didn't become CEO. But then also, too, were evidence that was admitted into this trial where Musk was even considering maybe moving OpenAI into Tesla. So there was a recognition that you needed more investments and that you needed more money in order to grow the business. And I think for me, that was going to be a very poignant part of the case.
As part of this lawsuit, he wants OpenAI to go back to being a nonprofit. He wants billions of dollars to go into that nonprofit arm, and he wants leadership changes at the top. What will that mean, if it happens, to the AI landscape in general?
It makes the competitive landscape much more appealing for the competitors of OpenAI. And we're talking about Anthropic, who has this Claude service. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Google that has Gemini. And then we are talking about Elon Musk.
Elon's own AI company,
yes,
right?
Elon Musk has OpenAI. Excuse me, he has xAI, mm-hmm. Which is a similar competitor to that. And so that really is the question, is he doing this to eliminate the threat of OpenAI in order for his company to come into place? And in the courtroom, I found was something really interesting where the lawyers for OpenAI, they asked him, they said, hey, of all your businesses that you use, Elon, are they nonprofit? And he said, no. And he said, but aren't they used for social good? And then he said, yes. So really examining and questioning that you can create a company that is for profit that does benefit the social structure and goodness of humanity into what they're trying to solve for.
He's off the stand now, but Elon could be called back. What are you watching for as this trial moves on now?
What I'm looking for is now when OpenAI begins to call their star witness, and that is going to be Sam Altman. And I think what's going to be interesting is how is the jury going to deliberate and how are they going to hear this case? Diane, you and I, we talked about the previous cases when you had other tech companies that was on trial for harm that were done to children. Jurors can relate to that, right? They want, if they're a parent or they have a young child in their life, they want to make sure that young child is protected and safe. OpenAI is different. Most of Americans and society has used ChatGPT. They have used possibly Claude, right? And so they see the benefit of it. They understand it. They may have a fear about displacement of the workforce, but in a more 9 out of 10, they tend to like ChatGPT. And so I think that is going to be a really important part. And can Sam Altman drive that narrative that they are doing good and that they needed more money in order for jurors to use the product more efficiently.
Interesting. All right, Mike.
Fascinating.
Thank you.
Yes.